We got shirts on sale. Express your Eeveelution and starter Pokemon love by buying an Eeveelution family shirt and Which One starter shirt. Link will be in the description below. Pokemon Evolution. The metamorphosis of a Pokemon changing into an entirely different form. Throughout the course of Pokemon, we have seen countless Pokemon evolution, and some of these vary from different shapes and structures. Some Pokemon even turn smaller when they evolved, whereas you think some Pokemon usually evolve and get bigger looking. I know as Pokemon fans, we love seeing the new mechanics Game Freak comes up with, and that includes new evolutions. With Pokemon Sword and Shield right around the corner, I think there is a chance we could get some new evolutions. We haven't gotten a bunch of new evolutions since Generation 4, and I think with Sword and Shield on an even number of generations and being on the Switch, this could definitely mean new evolutions for us. With that being said, today I want to count down some evolutions I would like to see in Pokemon Sword and Shield. These evolutions can vary from a branched evolution or to an entirely new evolution. I'm going to try and keep it so that Pokemon who need evolution will be on the list more than just ones I want. However, all these are a case-by-case basis, and I think they all have more or less of an equal chance of getting an evolution. Alrighty though, with that being said, let's talk about some evolutions that could potentially get introduced in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Coming in at the number 10 spot, we have one of my least favorite Pokemon being Drednaw. Now you might be asking, Mystic, why would you have a Pokemon you hate on your top 10 list for Pokemon that need an evolution? Well, the simple answer to that is that I don't want to hate any Pokemon really, and I can't really think of anything other than some type of evolution that could make me even like Drednaw a little more. I have expressed how ugly I find it, how bad the shiny is, and on top of that, it's not very viable and competitive neither. I think most would just say it needs a Mega to fix most of the problems, but for me personally, it needs to be a permanent change rather than a temporary one in battle. So here you go. Something extremely badass that I think fixes all the problems I have with it. Now, one thing I want to briefly address is that I believe it would be a pretty solid stat boost of about 150, primarily to its attack, special attack, and speed, with a small amount added to the rest of its stats. Now, you might think that's overpowered, and I would agree, so we'll level it out a little bit with a new ability called Knight's Redemption. This ability will activate once Drednaw's HP falls below 50%, and once it does, both of its defenses will be cut in half, as well as it gaining a weakness to the Steel type. Yeah, that means it'll be a little bit more of a glass cannon, but at the very least, it's a super powerful Pokemon that can be used to get some heavy hits off at the start of the battle. I think all these factors combined would make me appreciate Drednaw a bit more, or at least enough to get one so I can evolve it into this beast. Next up, we have a branched evolution for Pawniard. Now don't get me wrong, I really like Bisharp. I've used it quite a bit in competitive and have had a lot of fun using it. I think the concept of Pawniard and Bisharp being based on chess pieces is also really cool and should be expanded upon. And that's why I believe Pawniard should be a branched evolution, based on a knight. Why a knight? Well, we have many reasons for that actually. One being that it would be introduced in Pokemon Sword and Shield, so that's an obvious one out of the way. Knights are super iconic in history, fairy tales, and in chess, so it would make sense to add it in. Well, why not a rook then? I was actually thinking about that originally until I learned that chess pieces all have values in relation to pawns. Rooks are worth 5 pawns, whereas bishops are only worth 3, so it really wouldn't be equivalent in value to make one of the evolutions based on a more powerful piece. However, knights are also worth 3 pawns like the bishop, so all this fell into place beautifully. For a design, I'm thinking something very similar to this Mega Bisharp from Pokemon Insurgents. Having a centaur-like body with a sword and shield would be an absolutely perfect fit for a knight motif. For an ability, I think we need to give it stance change for sure. Its stats would reflect that, similar to Aegislashes with huge power in attack and special attack while it's in blade stance, and the vice versa for its defense stats while in shield stance. Now to evolve into this Pokemon, we're going to incorporate a new status condition called Rust that exclusively affects Steel type Pokemon. It would happen via water type moves, having a percentage chance to actually rust these Pokemon over time. And then once Pawniard is rusted, even at like normal. Why does it need to be rusted to evolve into a knight? Well, Pokemon mechanics, of course. Why does the Donsto make a fighting type variation of Kirlia? Sometimes things are just the way they are for no reason. Anyways, I think this would be a cool way to introduce a bit more balance to one of the most powerful types, in addition to giving us a cool new evolution. This Pokemon needed an evolution or something done about it the first time it was ever introduced to us in Generation 3. Luvdisc is the Pokemon that needs everything done to it just to survive anywhere. Bottom line, Luvdisc is a complete pile of garbage. Something needs to improve on this Pokemon, and if that means it gets an evolution, heck, that's a perfect idea, I'm all for it. I'm also sure that a lot of you guys thought Luvdisc was originally supposed to evolve into a Alomomola as well. I was one of those people, and I was really upset when it didn't evolve into it. With Pokemon Sword and Shield coming out, Game Freak has one more shot with giving Luvdisc an evolution, or something to fix it. If it were to get an evolution, all of its stats need to buff up. The design for the evolution would definitely definitely be bigger, and as an ability for it, I think we should give it Cute Charm. It's a big heart, so I think that could totally work. I think a lot of us have always questioned, why doesn't Salandit's male form evolve? Well, my boy Arizo has done a video on why Salazzle is female, so that can provide the answer to that question. Even though Salandit can only evolve into Salazzle, I still really want an evolution for a male Salandit. I mean, sure, it doesn't make sense for a biological standpoint, but I mean, it's Pokemon, come on. Everything in Pokemon doesn't make sense. This is a branched evolution that I'm super passionate about because Pokemon like male Salazzle always get shunned, and I guess I'll throw male Combi in there as well. I'm mainly going to be talking about the male Salandit evolution, but male Combi could use one as well. This poison lizard evolution could be a monster in attack versus its female counterpart having special attack. For an ability, I would give it Poison Touch. It's a physical attacking poison type Pokemon, and I think that works out pretty perfect. At the number 6 spot, we have the very underappreciated Qwilfish. I think design and concept-wise, Qwilfish was really awesome, but unfortunately, it was made really weak and therefore made it pretty useless. The strange thing is, it was intended to have an evolution back in the Gold and Silver demo, but they decided to scrap it. Well, now I think is as good of a time as any to bring back the idea of giving Qwilfish an evolved form. Now, it was originally supposed to evolve at level 18, making it into a level-based evolution, so we have to go item-based. And because there's not a whole lot we can do with its design, we're going to be focusing mainly on stats. So I think we have a new elemental stone being introduced called the Poison Stone. Simply expose it to the Poison Stone and bam, you got yourself a powered up Qwilfish. I think we don't need to go too crazy, so a nice even distribution of 120 to all of its stats would suffice. I think ability wise, we keep Poison Point and make Intimidate as a regular ability, but have its hidden ability be Corrosion. Can't have such an awesomely powered up Pokemon be without a solid poison type ability. A little while ago, I did a theory on what evolution I thought would be in Pokemon Sword and Shield. With the evidence I came up with, it seems like we're going to be getting a Dragon-type evolution this time around. So I figured I would just add this evolution to the list. As usual, credit goes to Dark and Winnie for this design. We didn't talk about stat distributions for the Dragon-type evolution in the video, so I want to keep it mixed with high attack and special attack. Speed, I will keep it semi-high. Rather than get into all the stats, I will just leave the distributions on screen. As for an ability, I'm literally left it blank. Use your imagination in the comments below. Reaching back into the bag of scrapped evolutions, we've got one for Farfetch'd. Farfetch'd was always such a neat Pokemon to me. I love doing the Farfetch'd puzzle in all the Johto games. I just think it's an underappreciated Pokemon. One thing that pains me though is how terribly weak it is. Even with Gen 7 giving it a 25 base stat increase, it's still pretty pitiful. That's why it needs to get an evolution. So to get an idea, we're going to be looking at the Gold and Silver beta again, pulling up its scrap design. This is another Pokemon where it was supposed to evolve at a higher level, but I think we're too far gone to retcon that. So the Scowling item that increases Farfetch'd's critical hit ratio is actually just named Stick in English. So I think we should just simply introduce an even bigger leak and have it be a trait evolution. The leak becomes one with its evolution and increases its power considerably. I'm not necessarily saying that this will make it an awesome competitive monster, but at the very least it will make it somewhat usable in general, which is all I really ask for Farfetch'd because I really want to see it get some kind of appreciation and love. This is one of my favorite water Pokemon of all time, and I wish it could get some more love. Corsola could really use an evolution. Look at its stats. Doesn't this literally scream, I need an evolution or something to make me better? I really want Corsola to get something because it has always been neglected in the generations to come. The most prominent time of where it could have gotten an evolution and the timing would have been perfect for it is in Alola. Alola had Corsola everywhere, and they were practically being attacked by Mareanie and Toxapex all the time. It would have been awesome to see an evolved form of Corsola being able to rally up the Corsola and fending off the Mareanie and Toxapex. Maybe the typing could still be Water Rock with the ability of Regenerator. Regenerator to me just sticks with the Corsola-like Pokemon very well. Plus, I mean, it already has Regenerator as its hidden ability, so carrying it over would be super easy to do. Stat increases are pretty simple, just a buff in its defenses and maybe raise its special attack stat up a little bit so it has more attacking power. There are ocean ports and beaches all over Britain. I think if we were to get a Corsola evolution, it would still be pretty easy to implement. Just shy of the number 1 spot, we have another branched evolution concept being for Helioptile. Helioptile, as I stated in last week's Electric Type Opinions video, is such a cool Pokemon, being based off of a frilled lizard, and I really believe the line is underappreciated. So I was trying to think how it could be made cooler, and I couldn't really think of anything for Helioptile on its own. But for Helioptile, I thought getting a new evolution could make people like it if it had a pretty cool concept. And I thought, hey, Helioptile reminds me of that venom-spitting dinosaur from Jurassic Park, and it hit me. Take that poison stone we made earlier and give it to Helioptile instead of a sunstone. Now it's still got that frilled kind of look into it, but it's now a much cooler electric poison type. Just thinking about it makes me upset that it's not real. It would completely be a new dual type introduced and could completely lead to some unique competitive strategies, assuming its stats are distributed nicely and gets a decent selection of moves to choose from. Unfortunately, I don't have a design made for this one, but man, just use your imaginations and picture how cool it would be. Definitely a worth idea to have for the number 2 spot. The Pokemon I think that needs an evolution the most in Pokemon Sword and Shield is Dunsparce. It's been around since Generation 2, and this Pokemon has always screamed, I need an evolution. You have cases like Farfetch'd, sure, but Dunsparce is just so much more forgotten than Farfetch'd just because it's a Gen 2 Pokemon versus a Generation 1 Pokemon. We got Drampa in Gen 7, and it is one of my favorite Pokemon from Gen 7 as a matter of fact. Everyone thought though, Dunsparce is going to evolve into Drampa. Bruh, no it didn't. Why? They had a perfect opportunity to give an amazing Pokemon some exposure. Literally everything makes sense for Dunsparce to evolve in the Drampa. The design, the characteristics, the mannerisms, the typing. Why did Dunsparce get gypped? I hope this time in a Generation 8 game, we don't have to worry about it getting gypped because I think after 19 years, Dunsparce will finally get an evolution. It is just screaming for one. The amount of potential it has is literally insane. For stat increases, let's throw some buffs into its attack stat and speed drastically. And for its ability, let's let it keep Serene Grace. Serene Grace on this monster is well deserved after all that waiting it has had to do for these past couple decades. I want this little land snake to get some wings and become a giant derpy serpent. If you agree that Dunsparce should get an evolution, give me a hashtag justice for Dunsparce in the comments below. Well, those are my picks on all the Pokemon I think will get evolutions in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Evolution is a wonderful feature for Pokemon to get, and though it may be one of the oldest features in Pokemon, fans I guarantee would still appreciate if one of their favorite Pokemon got an evolution versus a regional variant and a Mega Evolution. Evolution is such a staple in the Pokemon franchise, and I think we absolutely need more evolutions in the future. What Pokemon do you guys want to get evolutions though in Pokemon Sword and Shield? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel with notifications on, that way you never miss an upload. If you want to support me further, consider following my Twitch where I stream a lot of Pokemon content and all kinds of other content like Zelda, Fire Emblem, Borderlands, and much more. Want to support me further and gain cool perks? Check out my Patreon. Fly Jubilee, Daniel Leone, Lady Crimson, Pal491, The Lazy Leo, Matthew Young, Austin Lego, and Dirt Weasel Austin did, and I want to thank them personally for going above and beyond. It means the world to me. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mystic Umbreon, and I will see you in the future for more awesome Pokemon content.